look at chords and inversions. So, at higher we've spoken about chords 1, 4, 5 and 6. So we look down here and we see, here's a chord of C, we're in the key of C major, chord 1, this is F, chord 4, this is G, chord 5. Chord 1, chord 4, chord 5, that's a dominant 7th, chord 1, chord 2, chord 5. So remember at higher we've spoken about the fact that chords derive from scales. So for example, if we were to think about the scale of C, it would look like this: C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and then we come back to C again. We've also spoken about the fact that chords are built on notes of the scale. So the chord of C is based on the root, the third and the fifth. This is chord 1 in the key of C. How about chord 4? Well, we base it on the 4th step. How about chord 5? Base it on the 5th step. Chord 6, it's always the minor one. Base it on the 6th step of that major scale of C. So what makes a major scale? You know that if you play all of the white notes from C to the C an octave above, you've played a major scale. But you also know that that only works when you start on a C. It just so happens that the arrangement of tones and semitones between C and C create the perfect conditions for a major scale. And here's what I mean by the arrangement of tones and semitones. This arrangement, tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone, must be kept intact to form a major scale. And we can see from that that every major scale apart from C will have either sharps or flats in it. So here, for example, we see the scale of F. We're looking at this arrangement again: tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. And we can see that there should be semitones between steps 3 and 4 and 7 and 8. And that's why between steps 3 and 4 we need to make this note here a B flat to make that a semitone. Semitone there as well, let's just check, that's an E, that's an F, semitone, so we don't need to add any accidentals there. Scale of G. Again, we keep that order of tones and semitones intact and it would give us a major scale. Steps 3 and 4 need a semitone. B to C, that is a semitone. 7 and 8. Looks as if this is an F to a G, but if we look at the key signature there, this note's actually an F sharp to a G, giving us our semitone. So we have to keep this order intact to write or to play a major scale. Okay, so here we are again in the key of C. How is it that this is the chord, this chord of F is chord 4, if we're in the key of C? Because it's built on the 4th step of that scale. Chord of F, F, A, C. How about this chord here? This is chord 1, because we look at the notes and we have C, we have E, we have G. It's based on that root note, the main note of the key of C, C, E, G, chord 1. How about this one? So we have a D, we have an F, we have an A. This is chord 2 because it's built on the second step of this scale. D, F, A. Inversions. Now, an inversion is a chord with the notes in a different order. So far we've learned all of our chords in root position, where the root of the chord is the lowest note. So we think of the chord as C. The notes of that chord are C, E and G, where C is the root. E is the third, because it's the third step of the scale, and G is the fifth, because it's the fifth step of the scale. We look at these three notes here, for example. This is the chord of C, C, E, G, in root position, because the C is the lowest note. But C might not always be the lowest note, and if the third of the chord is the lowest note, the chord's in first inversion. So if you look at this, for example, we can see that these three notes are C, E, G. The same three notes, letter names, but they're in a different order. So this is still the chord of C, but it's got a different note at the bottom. It's this E that's at the bottom, which is the third of the chord, and this is a first inversion of the C chord. Could be that the fifth of the chord is the lowest note. Fifth, as you know, is the G. So if the G is the lowest note, which we'll see in a minute, that chord is in second inversion. If we look at these three notes, we still see a C, an E, and a G, and we know that it's the chord of C, but we see here that the G is the lowest note, and we know that the G is the fifth. If the fifth of the chord is the lowest note, the chord is in second inversion. So here we are. If we're in the key of C, here's a chord. We have the notes G, C, E. We know we're dealing with, doesn't matter the order just now, we know we've got a C, an E and a G. We know we're dealing with the chord of C, chord 1. But G is the lowest note, and that means it's a second inversion chord. Chord 1, second inversion. We look at this arrangement here, this chord. We have a D, we have an A, we have an F. So we're looking at this chord here. This is chord 2. Remember, we're still in the key of C. This is chord 2. And then we need to look at the lowest note to decide whether it's in root position or inversion. And as we can see, F is the lowest note here. And that makes it a first inversion chord. Important to remember then that the inversion of a chord is dictated by which note in the chord is lowest. First thing to do is we work out our key signature, then work out what the chord is, look at the lowest note to work out what the inversion is. So if the lowest note is the first note of the scale, we call it a root position chord. And root position chords do not need to be identified by a letter. But if the lowest note is the third of the scale, it's a first inversion chord, as we've seen. And we indicate this by a letter, the letter B. So first inversion's B. So chord 2, first inversion, is 2B. Same idea. If the lowest note is the fifth of the scale, it's a second inversion chord, as you know. And we also indicate this by a letter, this time C. So for example, chord 4, second inversion, would be 4C. So we'll look at this example. We're in the key of C still. We're looking at the notes. We have the note F, note F again, A, D. F, A, D brings us here. And we know that this chord is chord 2. We then have a look at the lowest note, and we notice that F is the lowest note. It's a first inversion. And we use the letter B. So that is chord 2, B. So just to recap, in a 4-note chord, one of the notes is going to be doubled, remember, probably. So you work out your key signature first, look at the chord, and look at the lowest note to work out the inversion. So here we know we're in C major. This note, these notes are C, G, E, C. That's the chord of C. The lowest note is a C. That's chord 1. Why do we not need a letter? Because this chord's in root position. So chord 1. How about this? So again, we're still in the key of C. We're looking at these notes and we can see that they are C, G, E, E. That's the chord of C. But we look at the lowest note here and we see that it's the note E. Chord of C, E's at the bottom, it's a first inversion, it's chord 1B. How about this? Again, we'll look at the key, we're on the key of C major. The notes are C, G, E, and another G. G is the one at the bottom. This is the chord of C, C, E, G. This is chord 1, C, because it's a second inversion with the G at the bottom. How about this one? So we're still in the key of C major. We're looking at the notes. We see a B, a G, a D, and another G. This is making up the chord of G. We see that G is the lowest note. This is chord 5. The chord of G is chord 5 in the key of C major. G is the lowest note. This is a root position. Chord 5, root position. No need for a letter. Okay, this one, so again we see we're still in the key of C major. What notes do we have? C, A, E, E. That's the chord of A minor. A, C, E. The lowest note's E. This is chord 6 in the key of C major. Chord 6 is A minor. The E's at the bottom, it's a second inversion. It's chord 6, C. The first thing we notice here is that we're in a different key. We're now in the key of G major. We'll look at the notes. We've got a B, we've got a G, we've got a D, we've got another B. So the notes G, B, D make the chord of G. The lowest note here is a B, so we've got the chord of G with a B at the bottom. This is chord 1, first inversion, because the third of the chord, the B, is at the bottom. Chord 1, B. Again, in this one we see a different key signature. We see that we're in the key of F. Let's have a look at the notes. We have a B flat, F, D, D. This is the chord F, B flat, D, F. B flat, D, F makes the chord of B flat. And in the key of F major, B flat is chord 4. Lowest note's a D, not in root position then, we know that. This is a first inversion, chord of B flat with a D at the bottom. First inversion chord. Chord 4, B. Okay, this one again we see different key signature. 2 sharps, D major. We look at our notes. We've got a B, we've got an F sharp, we've got a D, we've got another B down here. B, D, F sharp. This is the chord of B minor. And the chord in the key of D major, B minor is chord 6. We'll look for the lowest note. Chord of B minor, remember, the lowest note is a B. We're looking at a root position here. Chord 6. No need for a letter because of the root position. But this one, the notes are a wee bit more spaced out. We'll look at the key signature. 2 flats, B flat major. Then we look at the notes. So we have a G up here, a C, an E flat and another G down the bottom. So we have a C, an E flat and a G. And that is the chord of C minor. And in C minor, in that chord of C minor, we can see that it's step 2 of the B flat major scale. B flat, C. What's the lowest note? We know this is a chord of C minor now. Is the lowest note a C? No. So it's not a root position. Is the lowest note an E flat? No. So it's not a first inversion. Is the lowest note a G? Yes. It's a second inversion. That's chord 2, C. Chord of C minor in second inversion.